This is Jonathan Cahn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. When you look at what's happening in the world, it's easy to wonder what's going on, and are things out of control? Is this what the Bible foretold? Is the end near? What do I need to know about the future? Where's it all going? How can I be prepared? What is God's prophetic word for the hour and for me? On this channel, you're going to find prophetic updates, the mysteries of God, daily words for life, biblical revelation, prophetic teachings, and much more. I pray it's going to be a great blessing to you in the days ahead. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time there's a new video that's posted. Leave a comment as to how God is blessing you. And don't forget to share these videos with friends who need to hear them. Thanks again, and God bless you. Shalom.
My brother, I want you to pause for just a moment. Look at the world around you. The chaos, the violence, the brokenness of men, the emptiness behind smiles. It feels as though something is shifting, as though a veil has been pulled back, and the truth that we are living in the edge of time is no longer something distant, but something pressing against your very soul. Maybe you felt it too. Late lying on your bed with your phone in your hand, scrolling through endless images of lives that look better than yours, relationships that seem fuller than yours, success that feels out of reach. And deep inside, you feel a question rise. What is happening to me? What is happening to this world? There is a prophecy spoken of called the 3 days of darkness. For centuries, it has echoed like a whisper in the hearts of believers. A time when light will be stripped away, when humanity will be left to face its shadows. Some scoff at it, some sensationalize it. But whether literal or spiritual, whether tomorrow or in years to come, the warning is the same: darkness is coming. And brother, darkness isn't just something outside of us. It's not only in collapsing economies, rising wars, or nations at war with themselves. It's in you. It's in me. It's in the unspoken battles you carry as a man. Your loneliness, your hunger for meaning, your war with temptation, your fear of not being enough. What if I told you that these 3 days of darkness aren't only a prophetic event, but a mirror of your own soul? That your life has already known nights where the light has been shut out, where your heart has gone numb, where you felt abandoned, unseen, unloved. And yet, listen carefully, in the story of God, every darkness is not the end. Darkness is the place where God creates. In Genesis, it was out of the void, the chaos, the nothingness, that he said, "Let there be light." Out of the midnight of Egypt came the Exodus. Out of the silence of the tomb came the resurrection. So yes, my brother, darkness is coming. And maybe it's already here for you. Maybe you're walking through it right now. But it is not the end. It is the beginning. I want to speak directly to you. The man who feels stuck in dating, who feels unworthy of love, who scrolls through women's profiles and feels invisible. I want to speak to you, the man chasing success but lying awake at 3 a.m., haunted by the feeling that he will never be enough. I want to speak to you, the man hiding behind jokes, behind games, behind empty nights, because silence terrifies you. This message is not about fear. It is not about doom. It is about truth. Because when the lights go out, and they will, you will see reality for what it is. All the masks will fall. All the illusions will collapse. And what remains will be you and God. The 3 days of darkness prophecy is a wake-up call. Not just for nations, not just for churches, but for men like you. Men who are being summoned out of shadows into purpose. Brother, don't miss this. When darkness comes, weak men collapse. But strong men, men who are anchored in God, men who walk in truth, become light. And this generation is starving for light. Women are searching for men who carry it. The world is desperate for men who bear it. Your soul longs for it. So what do you do when the world grows dark? What do you do when your heart feels empty? You do what men of God have always done. You rise. You become the flame. You become the sign of hope in a world drowning in despair. But to become that, you must face your own shadows. You must let God take you through your own 3 days of darkness, so that on the other side, You walk not as a broken boy, but as a man of purpose, of courage, of light. This message today is for those who are willing to listen, not with their ears, but with their hearts. If you've been numb, if you've been asleep, if you've been drowning in silence, this is your wake-up call. The 3 days of darkness prophecy is coming soon, or maybe it's already begun. The signs are here. The collapse of morals, the shaking of nations, the tearing apart of families, the rise of confusion, and the loneliness in men's hearts. Brother, the darkness has already descended, but hear me, it will not last forever. The light of God always breaks through. The question is, when it does, will you be ready, or will you be consumed? Stay with me, because I'm about to give you 8 keys, 8 truths that will guide you not only through the prophecy of darkness, but through your own battle as a man. The world is entering midnight, and I don't say that to sensationalize or to scare you. I say it because if you open your eyes, if you truly look, not through the filters of entertainment or distraction, not through the illusions of your phone screen, but if you truly look, you will see it. The sun is going down on this age. The light is fading, and the shadows are growing longer. We live in a generation that has lost its compass. We live in a culture that once knew the difference between right and wrong, light and dark, truth and lies, and now those lines are blurred beyond recognition. Midnight is when confusion reigns. Midnight is when people stumble because they cannot see. And brother, that's what's happening all around you right now. It's in the streets, in the music, in the movies, in the classrooms, in the government, in the family, and yes, in the very heart of men. Think about it. Never has a generation been more connected through technology, yet never has it been more alone. Never have there been so many dating apps, yet never have men and women been so lost in love. Never have there been so many voices promising meaning, success, identity, yet never have so many felt empty. That is what midnight looks like. It is a time when everything that once guided people, the stars, the landmarks, the voices of wisdom, seem to vanish into the black. And maybe you feel it in your own soul. You wake up, you go to work, you scroll through endless images of other people's lives, and you wonder, where is this going? What is happening to me? You see relationships breaking down all around you. You see men your age losing themselves in addictions, numbing themselves with distractions, and you think, is this all there is? Is this what my life will be? That's the sound of midnight pressing in on your soul. The Bible tells us that there would come a time when people would call good evil and evil good. And you're seeing it. Truth has become offensive. Lies have become celebrated. Men are being told not to be men. Families are being torn apart. Children are being lost in confusion. And the world shrugs as if this is progress. But it's not progress, it's darkness, it's the descent into midnight. Now, here's the thing about midnight. It is the darkest part of the night, yes. But it is also the threshold. Midnight is the time when one day ends and another begins. Midnight is the moment that feels like the deepest void, yet it is the exact moment the light begins its journey back. That means that even as the world plunges deeper into shadow, even as the signs grow more urgent, God has not lost control. Midnight was written into the story. Midnight is part of the plan. Brother, if you understand this, then you understand your calling. Because when the world goes dark, the only thing that matters is light. A candle in the daytime may seem small, insignificant. But in midnight, that candle can be seen for miles. And that's what you are called to be. That's what you are called to carry. But the tragedy is this: too many men don't even know they are living at midnight. They live as if the sun is still shining. They think they have endless time. They chase pleasure. They chase approval. They drown in temporary escapes, and all the while the clock is striking 12. Midnight is here, and they are asleep. That's why I'm speaking to you now, not as a preacher behind a pulpit, but as a man speaking to another man. Wake up. Look around. Feel the urgency. because the hour is later than you think. The darkness you see in the world is not just political, not just cultural. It is prophetic. These are signs. These are warnings. And the man who ignores them is not only blind to history, but blind to his own soul. But hear me, brother. Midnight is not meant to destroy you. Midnight is meant to awaken you. Midnight is the call to rise when others fall. Midnight is the time when God whispers to his chosen, I have set you apart. I have given you light. Now carry it. The darkness of this age is the very stage on which men of courage, men of truth, men of God are revealed. So I ask you, what will you do at midnight? Will you stumble like the rest, or will you be the one who shines? Will you be just another voice lost in the noise, or will you be the man who carries truth into the void? Because whether you realize it or not, every day you wake up, every battle you face, every choice you make is shaping your answer. The world is entering midnight. The signs are undeniable. But this is not the time for despair. This is the time for resolve. For in the darkest hour, light is not defeated, it is defined. And you, my brother, are being called to be that light. Darkness is already here. We talk about prophecy as if it's some distant thunder, as if one day the clouds will roll in and then we'll know the storm has come. But open your eyes, brother, it has already begun. You don't need a prophet to tell you. You just need to look at your life, at your friends, at the world around you. You see it in the faces of men walking down the street, blank, lifeless, headphones in, staring at their phones, disconnected from their souls. You see it in the loneliness that haunts this generation, where men spend hours in virtual worlds, escaping because the real one feels unbearable. You see it in the addictions that eat away at strength, the endless scrolling, the pornography, the substances, the numbing of pain because we don't know what else to do with it. That is darkness. It doesn't always look like demons and shadows on a wall. Sometimes it looks like the emptiness behind a man's smile, and maybe you know exactly what I mean, because maybe that man is you. Maybe you've had nights where you lay in bed and ask yourself, why do I feel this hollow? Why, even when I get what I thought I wanted, does it still feel like nothing? That, my brother, is the whisper of darkness already at work. The world doesn't call it that. The world calls it normal. They call it stress. They call it burnout. They call it just being young. But what if I told you it's deeper than that? What if I told you that what you are feeling is spiritual? That what you are fighting isn't just circumstance. It is the darkness of this age pressing on your soul. Look at the numbers. Anxiety, depression, suicide, all at historic highs, especially among young men. Why? Because the culture told you that you could live without God, that you could define yourself however you wanted, that you could chase pleasure and success, and that would be enough. But it's not enough. It never was. And now an entire generation is waking up to that lie. That's why the darkness is here, not only in nations, not only in politics, but in you, in me, in the deepest places of our hearts. Think of Egypt in the days of Moses. One of the plagues was darkness. But it wasn't just the absence of light. It was described as a darkness that could be felt, a suffocating weight that covered everything. And that's exactly what men feel today. Not just the absence of joy, but the heaviness of despair. Not just the absence of connection, but the suffocating loneliness that makes you feel invisible even in a crowded room. That is a darkness you can feel. And here's the truth: most men don't want to face the darkness. Is not just around you. It's in you. It's in the bitterness you carry from rejection. It's in the secret habits you don't tell anyone about. It's in the jealousy you feel when you see other men succeed. It's in the shame you bury, hoping no one will notice. That is your personal 3 days of darkness. And the enemy wants you to believe that this is who you are, that this is permanent, that there is no way out. But I am here to tell you, brother, that this is not the end of your story. The very fact that you can feel the darkness means you are not gone. The very fact that you are hearing these words means God has not abandoned you. If you were too far gone, you would not even care. But the ache in your chest, the restlessness in your soul, that is proof that you are still alive, still being called, still being pursued by the one who created you. So don't deny the darkness. Don't pretend it isn't real. Don't numb yourself with another distraction just to forget it for a moment. Face it. Because when you face it, you begin to see that the darkness is not eternal. It is a season. It is a plague with an expiration date. And if you let God enter into it, if you open even the smallest crack, the light will break through. This is why you cannot waste time. Too many men are sleepwalking through life, thinking they have tomorrow to figure it out. But the darkness is not waiting. It is already here, already stealing years, already devouring lives. The question is, will you let it devour you, or will you be the one who rises? The 3 days of darkness prophecy is not only about the world, it is about you. You have already tasted your own darkness. But remember this, in the story of the plagues, while Egypt was covered in shadow, the people of God had light in their dwellings. That means you don't have to be swallowed. You can carry light even in the midst of a generation consumed by night. So yes, the darkness is here, but so is the call for you to stop running, to stop numbing, to stop pretending you're fine. The call to rise, to seek, to surrender, to shine. Because the man who denies his darkness will be broken by it. But the man who faces his darkness with God will be remade into light. Your battle is spiritual, not just physical. This may be one of the hardest truths for modern men to accept, because we live in a world that tells us every struggle can be explained by psychology, by biology, by circumstances. They say you're depressed because of chemicals. You're lonely because of bad luck in dating. You're restless because you haven't achieved enough. And yes, maybe those things play a part. But if you stop there, you miss the deeper reality. Brother, hear me. You are not just flesh and blood. You are spirit. You were created in the image of God. That means your battles are not just about what's happening outside of you. They are about what is happening in the unseen realm. The Bible says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against the rulers of darkness. That means the fight you feel inside, the struggle that keeps you awake at night, the emptiness that won't let you go. That is not random. That is war. Think about it. Why is it that no matter how much you scroll, you still feel hungry? Why is it that even when you get her number, or get the hookup, or land the job, you still feel empty? Why is it that you win some battles, yet the shame lingers like a shadow that never leaves? Because, brother, you are fighting an enemy that doesn't live on the surface. You are fighting an enemy that whispers to your mind, that lies to your heart, that thrives in your silence. This is why so many men collapse. They think they're just fighting habits. They think they're just fighting rejection. They think they're just fighting the stress of life. But what they don't realize is that beneath all of that, they are fighting a war for their soul. And you cannot win a spiritual war with physical weapons. Some of you have tried. You've tried new routines, new diets, new apps, new self-help books. You've tried to muscle your way out of loneliness, to distract yourself out of despair, to discipline your way out of addiction. But still, the darkness circles back. Still, you find yourself in the same place, asking the same questions. Why? Because the problem was never only physical. The problem was always spiritual. And the enemy knows this. That's why his greatest strategy is not to scare you with demons in the night, but to convince you he isn't there. To convince you that your struggle is only natural, only human. To get you to fight the wrong battle. So you never see the real one. He wants you tired, distracted, blaming yourself, giving up. Because then he doesn't even have to fight. You're already defeated. But here's the good news: if your battle is spiritual, then your victory can also be spiritual. And that changes everything. Because it means you don't have to carry this fight alone. You don't have to win by your own strength. You don't have to pretend you're okay when you're breaking inside. You have access to a strength that is not your own. You have access to a power that can break chains you could never break. That power comes from God. And brother, this isn't about religion. This isn't about rituals or traditions. This is about reality. Either you are walking alone in the dark, or you are walking with the one who created light itself. Either you are trying to fight a spiritual enemy with your bare hands, or you are fighting with the armor of heaven. There is no middle ground. So ask yourself, how have you been fighting? Have you been pretending your battles are just about women, just about money, just about success? Have you been telling yourself that if you just try harder, just work more, just get stronger, then you'll finally feel whole? Or are you willing to admit that what you're really fighting is deeper, that your soul is under attack, that your purpose is under fire, that your identity is being stolen? The day you admit that, the day you name the battle for what it is the day everything changes. Because now you know what weapons to use. Now you know you need truth, not lies. Now you know you need prayer, not just strategy. Now you know you need God's strength, not just your own. And when you fight that way, when you fight as a man who knows his war is spiritual, you become dangerous to the darkness. And that, my brother, is why you are being attacked so hard. Because the enemy knows what you could become if you woke up. He knows the kind of light you would carry, the kind of man you would be, the kind of women you would draw, the kind of lives you would impact. So he tries to keep you blind, to keep you numb, to keep you thinking it's only physical. But not anymore. Not today. Because today you've seen the truth. Your battle is spiritual. And when you fight it that way, you don't just survive, you overcome. Every darkness is a seed of creation. That's the mystery, the paradox of God. We look at darkness and we think it's the end. We think it's the collapse. We think it's the place where everything we hoped for dies. But God sees something different. God sees that in every darkness there is a hidden beginning. Think back to the very first words of Scripture. The earth was formless and void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. That was the first scene. Captainess, nothing. But what happened next? Out of that very darkness came the words, "Let there be light." And the universe was born. Meaning, from the very first moment of creation, God set a pattern. He does his greatest work in the dark. And maybe, brother, you've been in your own kind of darkness. Maybe you've lost someone. Maybe a relationship you thought would last forever ended in silence. Maybe you've been carrying shame for years. Maybe you've been through nights where you wanted to quit, where you thought no one saw you, where you thought it was all over. That's the darkness. But what if I told you that the very place you thought would destroy you is the place where God wants to create something new in you? Think of a seed. Where does it grow? Not in the sunlight, not in the open air, but buried in darkness, hidden in soil, surrounded by silence. It looks like death. But in that place, unseen, the seed is breaking, and in the breaking it comes to life. That's you. That's your story. Your darkness is not your grave, it's your womb. Joseph knew it. He was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, locked in prison, years of darkness. It looked like his story had ended before it ever began. But in that place, God was planning something. And when the time came, Joseph rose not as a slave, not as a victim, but as a ruler who would save nations. What looked like ruin became redemption. Brother, your life is no different. That heartbreak, that failure, that addiction, that rejection, it feels like death. But God says, no, that's the soil. That's where I plant. That's where I create. The question is, will you let Him? Will you trust that your darkness is not wasted, that your pain has a purpose, that your tears are watering something you cannot yet see? Because here's the truth. Most men run from the dark. They bury it. They numb it. They escape it. But when you do that, you also run from the very place where God wants to create you. You cut yourself off from the process. You stop the seed before it can break open. That's why so many men stay the same year after year, because they refuse to let the breaking happen. They refuse to face their own midnight. But the man who endures the dark, who lets God break him, who lets the silence do its work, that man emerges different, stronger, wiser, alive. That's why Paul could say, we are pressed but not crushed, struck down but not destroyed, because he understood that the darkness was not an ending, it was a birthing. So I want you to reframe your story. Don't just look at your failures and say, I'm done. Don't just look at your heartbreak and say, I'll never love again. Don't just look at your loneliness and say, I'm invisible. No, look at it and say, this is my soil. This is where God is planting something. This is where He's breaking me so He can make me. And I'll tell you something. When you walk through darkness with that kind of faith, people will notice. Women will notice. Not because you're showing off, not because you're pretending, but because there's a quiet strength in a man who has faced his midnight and found light on the other side. That's the kind of man who doesn't just attract attention. He commands respect. That's the kind of man this generation is starving for. So, brother, don't curse your darkness. Don't run from it. Don't numb it. Let it do its work. Let God plant something in it, because one day you will look back and realize that what you thought was breaking you was actually birthing you, and what you thought was the end was actually the beginning. Every darkness is a seed of creation, and your seed is already in the ground. Weak men collapse in darkness, but strong men shine. This is the dividing line. Darkness doesn't just come to test the world, it comes to test you. It comes to reveal what kind of man you really are. And let me tell you, brother, midnight is a mirror. It shows the truth. It strips away the masks, the distractions, the excuses. And when the light is gone, when everything you leaned on disappears, who you really are is revealed. Look at history. Look at Scripture. Every time darkness fell, it separated men. In Egypt, when the plague of darkness covered the land, the people of God had light in their dwellings. The Egyptians collapsed, frozen in their fear. But the children of Israel stood. Darkness made the difference clear. In Babylon, when the nation demanded everyone bow to the idol, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood tall while everyone else collapsed. They stood when the fire burned, and because of it, the king himself bowed to their God. Darkness reveals, fire reveals, midnight reveals, and now it's your turn, because darkness is here in your life, in this culture, in this generation. And the question is not if, it's how. How will you stand, or will you fall? Weak men collapse because their strength was never real. They built their identity on approval, on women, on money, on their image. And when those things are stripped away, they crumble. They can't bear the silence. They can't bear rejection. They can't bear the loneliness. So they escape into addictions, into anger, into despair. They collapse because they were never anchored. But strong men, listen, strong men shine in the same darkness. Why? Because their strength doesn't come from what they have, but from who they are in God. Their anchor is not approval, but truth. Their worth is not based on what others say, but on what God has spoken. So when the lights go out, they don't panic. They shine. They become the very thing the darkness cannot swallow. That's what this generation needs. That's what women are longing for. Not more men who collapse at the first sign of pressure. Not more men who are all show and no substance. But men who have been through their midnight, who have wrestled with their own shadows, who carry light because they know what darkness feels like. Men who stand when others bow. Men who shine when others hide, and hear me. This isn't about being perfect. Strong men are not men who never feel fear. Strong men are not men who never fall. Strong men are men who rise again. Men who get knocked down but get back up. Men who take their weakness to God and let Him turn it into strength. Weak men hide their wounds. Strong men let God heal them. Weak men pretend. Strong men face the truth. Weak men collapse in darkness. Strong men shine in it. So, brother, what kind of man will you be? Because the darkness is not waiting. It's here. And every day you're already answering the question. When you wake up and numb yourself with your phone instead of facing your pain, that's collapsing. When you chase another meaningless hookup to cover your emptiness, that's collapsing. When you give up because life didn't give you what you thought you deserved, that's collapsing. But when you choose to rise, when you choose to stand, when you choose to say, I will not be swallowed by this darkness, that's shining. And don't think it doesn't matter, because it matters more than you know. One strong man can change a family. One strong man can shift a generation. One strong man can give courage to others who thought they had none. That's why the enemy fights you so hard. Because he knows if you stand, others will stand too. He knows if you shine, others will see. He knows that one light at midnight can awaken thousands. So I'm asking you, brother, are you willing to be that man? Are you willing to be the light others are desperate for? Are you willing to let the darkness come and not be afraid, because you know the God who called you is greater than the night that surrounds you? Weak men collapse, strong men shine, and your midnight is here. This is not the time to shrink back. This is not the time to hide. This is the time to rise, to stand, to shine. Because if you can shine at midnight, then you will shine forever. They say the night is darkest just before the dawn. But for many men today, the night feels endless. We scroll through screens, we fill our minds with noise, we run after pleasures, but deep down the silence terrifies us. The silence that whispers, you are not enough. You have failed, you are forgotten. And so we numb ourselves. We put on masks of strength, of humor, of indifference. Yet when the mask comes off, we feel empty. That emptiness is not there by accident. It is a prophecy written into the soul. It is the ache of eternity. It is the sign that no matter how much you try to fill yourself with the world will never be enough. Look at the pattern of Scripture. God allowed His people to wander in deserts, to face nights without fire, to live in exile. Why? Because He knew that the wilderness strips away illusions. When the lights go out, the truth appears. And maybe, brother, the darkness in your life right now, the loneliness, the heartbreak, the rejection, is not proof that you are cursed, but proof that God is preparing you. The silence of heaven is not absence. It is a preparation for a greater word to come. I want you to hear this. You are not your failures. You are not your rejections. You are not the woman who left you, or the job that dismissed you, or the father who never affirmed you. You are the one who was formed in secret, knit together by hands that do not make mistakes. But the enemy wants you to forget that. That's why he fills your nights with accusation. That's why he whispers, you are alone. You are unloved. And the tragedy is that too many men believe the whisper more than the word. But hear me, the whisper is a lie. Your emptiness is not punishment. It is invitation. God allows hunger so that you may learn who the bread of life is. He allows thirst so that you may discover the living water. He allows the darkness so that you may finally look for the light. Think of the disciples on the sea. The storm raged, the waves beat their boat, and the night was terrifying. They thought He had abandoned them. But the very storm they feared was the place where they saw Him walk on water. The storm was the stage of revelation. And so it is with you. Brother, the 3 days of darkness are not only a prophecy about the world, they are a prophecy about the soul. You will face seasons where it feels like heaven has shut its doors. And yet in that very silence, God is closer than He has ever been. He is stripping away the distractions, the idols, the things you thought would save you but never could. He is saying, look up, look beyond. The light is coming. Some of you feel like you've lost your way in dating, in relationships, in your pursuit of meaning. You feel used, unseen, or always second choice. But what if God allowed the wrong people to reject you so that you would not miss the right calling? What if the woman who walked away was not your loss but your protection? What if the closed door was mercy disguised as disappointment? Men, you must learn this secret. God does his deepest work in the dark. Seeds grow underground. Babies form in the hidden womb. Diamonds are pressed in darkness. And resurrection. Resurrection always begins in a tomb. The silence of Saturday gave birth to the victory of Sunday. Do not mistake silence for abandonment. It is preparation. So tonight, in your own heart, if you feel that ache of emptiness, do not rush to fill it with noise or distractions. Sit with it. Bring it before the Lord. Say, God, this emptiness is yours. This loneliness is yours. This hunger is yours. I give you the void. And watch what happens when heaven breathes into the void. The same God who spoke into the darkness, let there be light, is the same God who will speak into your soul. And when he speaks, everything changes. Hold on, brother. The silence will not last forever. The emptiness is the prophecy. And when the dawn comes, you will see that the night was not wasted. It was holy. When you look at the story of Israel, when you look at the history of every empire, of every nation that ever rose and fell, you will see one common thread. They built idols. They gave their devotion, their time, their hearts to something other than God. And whenever idols are lifted up, judgment follows. Why? Because idols cannot carry you. They cannot protect you. They cannot love you back. They promise much, but they give nothing. They take your strength. They drain your soul, and then they collapse when you need them most. And what about us today? We like to think of ourselves as modern, advanced, enlightened, beyond the ancient foolishness of carving statues and bowing before them. But are we really so different? Or have we only made the idols shinier, digital, more fashionable, more acceptable? Our idols are not golden calves standing in a desert. They are glowing screens in our pockets. They are the endless chase of wealth, status, followers, validation. They are the illusions we bow to every morning when we wake up and check who liked us, who noticed us, who approved of us. These are the gods of our time, the prophecy of the shaking of idols. It's not simply an ancient warning. It is now. It is happening. Because when God shakes a land, he doesn't only shake the ground. He shakes the foundations of our false securities. He shakes Wall Street. He shakes Hollywood. He shakes governments. He shakes our illusions. He shakes every throne we have built in the place where only his throne belongs. And men, especially young men, especially in this nation, you are being shaken. Look at your life. Hasn't everything you thought would bring you joy left you more empty? Hasn't every idol you bowed to taken more than it ever gave you? Some of you are bowing to the idol of lust, thinking it will fill the hole in your heart. But afterward, you're emptier than before. Some of you are bowing to the idol of power or money, thinking, if I just get enough, then I'll be a man. But it's never enough. And some of you, your idol is the validation of a woman, the attention you crave, the hope that maybe if she looks at you, it will finally mean you matter. But hear me, idols always fail. And God in his mercy will shake them down. Because if he doesn't, you'll keep bowing to what is destroying you. This is why the shaking is a mercy. This is why the collapse of idols is not the end. It is the chance for a beginning. Think about it. If Israel's idols had never fallen, if the golden calves had never been broken, if Baal had never been judged, then the people would have stayed in bondage forever. But when the idol is exposed as powerless, when the fraud is unmasked, then you have the chance to turn back to the living God. The Lord is saying to this generation, what you thought was untouchable will fall. What you thought would save you will betray you. What you thought was your strength will be shown as weakness. And this is not to destroy you. It is to save you. He will tear down what cannot stand so that you might stand on what cannot be torn down. Young men, I tell you this, if you are willing to let the idols of your life be shaken, you will find a strength that nothing in this world can give you. You will find a foundation that no storm can take away. You will find a manhood not built on what women think of you, not built on what money you hold, not built on the applause of strangers, but built on the eternal God who called you before you were born. That is manhood. That is power. That is freedom. So when you see idols shaking in this nation, don't panic. Don't fear. Don't cling tighter to the illusion. Let them fall. Because what God has for you is not in the idol. It is in Him. And until the idol falls, you cannot rise. The shaking of idols is the beginning of awakening. It is the moment you stop bowing to what is dead and start standing in what is alive. And I promise you this, if you stand in Him, the shaking will not destroy you. It will reveal you. My friend, have you noticed something strange about our generation? We have more freedom than any people in history, and yet we are the most bound. We live in a world that says, do what you want, live how you want, be who you want. And yet men are drowning in addictions, in habits, in loneliness. They say, I'm free, but look closer. The chains are everywhere. Chains of lust, chains of fear, chains of brokenness. It's as if the enemy has switched the signs, calling bondage freedom and calling freedom slavery. But the Word of God says, if the Son sets you free, you shall be free indeed. Do you see the difference? The world's freedom leads to slavery. God's slavery to His will leads to freedom. That is the paradox of heaven. Think about it. Look at the man addicted to the screen late at night. He tells himself he is choosing it. He says, I can stop whenever I want. But deep inside, he knows he's not choosing anymore. He's being driven. A shadow pushes him. A hunger consumes him. And every time he bows to it, the chain grows tighter. That's not freedom, that's prison. Look at the man chained to anger. He lashes out, burns bridges, hurts those who love him. He says, that's just who I am. That's just how I'm wired. But that's a lie. That's not who he is. That's who the chains have made him. And look at our culture. Pornography everywhere. Quick fixes, empty hookups. Men selling their strength for a moment of validation. And afterward, they feel more empty than before because every counterfeit intimacy adds another link to the chain. Every time you give your soul to something false, you lose a piece of yourself. That's why so many young men walk around with hollow eyes. They smile for the camera, they joke with their friends, but deep inside, they feel trapped. They don't even know how to cry anymore. But God did not make you for chains. He made you for freedom. He made you to walk as a warrior in the light. Do you remember the story of Israel in Egypt? They were slaves. They could not free themselves. But then came the blood of the Lamb. Then came the Passover. Then came the outstretched arm of God that broke the chains of Pharaoh. That is your story. You cannot free yourself by willpower alone. You cannot break the addiction by trying harder. You need the blood of the Lamb. You need the power of the cross. You need to cry out, God, I can't do it, but you can. And when you do, the chains start to shatter. Some of you listening to me right now are wearing invisible chains. Maybe it's lust. Maybe it's despair. Maybe it's bitterness against someone who hurt you. Maybe it's the fear of never being enough. You've hidden it well. People think you're strong, but when the lights are off, you know the truth. But here's the promise. God breaks chains in secret places. He doesn't just break the visible chains. He goes into the hidden room of your heart where no one else sees and says, let there be freedom. The truth is, men, the battle is not just against temptation. It is against your identity. The enemy wants you to believe that you are the chain, that you are the anger, that you are the lust, that you are the failure. But the Word of God says otherwise. You are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. Do you hear that? Royal, holy, chosen. That is who you are. And when you begin to walk in that, the chains fall off because the chains cannot hold royalty. So I tell you this, if you want to be a high-value man, if you want to be strong, if you want to be more than the hollow faces of this world, break the chains. Don't just try to manage them. Don't just try to hide them. Break them. Take them to the cross. Confess them before God. Cry out in your weakness. And let His strength fill you. Because the greatest men are not those who have no chains. They are those whose chains have been broken. And one more thing, listen carefully, freedom is not just the absence of chains. Freedom is the presence of purpose. God doesn't just set you free so you can wander. He sets you free so you can serve, so you can love, so you can build, so you can become the man you were always meant to be. The chains of this world will promise you love, but give you loneliness. They will promise you power, but give you weakness. They will promise you freedom, but give you slavery. But the chains of Christ, yes, even His chains, will give you freedom. Because when you bind yourself to Him, everything else breaks. My brother, the world is dark, and the darkness is growing. But do not be afraid, do not surrender. You were born for such a time as this. You were born to break the chains. My brother, my friend, hear me. We have walked through the shadows tonight. We have spoken of darkness, of signs, of the trembling of nations. But I tell you this, God is not finished with you. If you are hearing this, if breath still fills your lungs, if your heart still beats in your chest, then heaven has not given up on you. You are not an accident, you are not forgotten, and you are not powerless. There is a reason you stumbled across this message. There is a reason your soul would not let you scroll past. Because deep within you is a hunger, an ache for truth, for strength, for meaning. And I tell you, this ache is holy. It is your spirit calling you home. Do not harden your heart. Do not waste this moment. The world will try to drown you in noise, in lust, in distraction, in failure. But you have heard a whisper tonight, a whisper of eternity. You are called to rise, to stand, to walk in the light even when the world is consumed by darkness. So I will ask you to act, not just for me, but for yourself, for the brother you've never met who is scrolling through the same storms you've been through. If this word has stirred something inside you, if it has lit even a spark, I ask you pause, breathe, and then do something about it. Like this message, because it tells the world you are unashamed of truth. Comment, because someone else needs to read your voice and know they are not alone. Share, because you never know whose life may be saved by a word of hope, a word of light. And subscribe, because the days are growing darker, and we will need each other. We will need a place of truth, of strength, of brotherhood. This is not entertainment. This is not just another video. This is a call to men who are tired of pretending, tired of falling, tired of living half dead. It is a call to rise into who you were made to be. So take courage. Take the fire that God has sparked in you tonight and step out, for you were born for this hour. And I will meet you again in the light, in the word, in the next message. Until then, be strong, be watchful, and be faithful. For the night is passing and the day is at hand.